r/Askreddit. What is your guess? I can't go into that store ever again story? Or do barber shops count? Decided to get a haircut whilst having a cold. Sneeze and farted at the same time. Never went back. Went on a first date with this girl to a new restaurant in town. She proceeded to get sloppy drunk and made a huge scene. From the classic could not control the volume of her voice to insisting on trying to show me and some other gentleman nearby what kind of underwear she had on while loudly insisting that she's a good girl though. The server we had seemed to get that I was not a willing part of this, but I was so mortified there's no way I'd ever go back. I'm at a coffee shop, have a glass of coffee in front of me, filled to the top. That shit is almost overflowing. I raise my hand to get the waitress attention because I want to order something else. I accidentally whack the shit out of the glass. This sends it flying across the room where it hits the waitress on the thigh and gets coffee fucking everywhere. Felt bad, so I left and never went back. My girlfriend fist bumped the clerk when he was actually reaching to grab a paper we had just signed. Anyway, we don't go to that tire kingdom anymore. When I was a kid, my family went to a pizzeria Uno, and before the food came I went to inspect the plumbing. They had those sinks where you press down on the knob and the water would flow, with the knob slowly raising back up before it would turn off after 20 seconds. I used my fist and hit the top of the knob and the thing just popped off and a huge geyser of water was erupting non-stop. Me and another kid were in there. We looked at each other and just bolted from the bathroom. I got back to my seat and just sat there silent. Then my mom went to use the bathroom, and when she came back she told us this story of how there was a pool in the bathroom hallway and the manager and an employee were in the men's room slipping and sliding trying to shut off the water. My whole family was laughing at the story, but I just sat there silent. They asked me what's wrong and I told them it was me that did it. They never fail to mention it every time we drive past a pizzeria Uno, even now 20 years later. I've never stepped foot in one since then. I sat on a Target shelf and the entire row of shelves crashed down onto the ground. While at the till at the convenience store paying for my lunch, the girl behind the counter asked if I wanted to go for a drink. Being married, I made my apologies hastily, pointing to the ring on my fingers, to which she replied that my lunch was a meal deal and would be cheaper with the drink. I tripped up over my shoelace and crashed into a shelf and broke it. The manager chased me out of the store. I used to go to the same haircut place since I was in kindergarten until I was in my teens. One day I go for a haircut and get this new, fairly attractive woman. As she's starting, I start to sweat. Now sometimes when I was younger my head would get really hot and my head would sweat when I was put on the spot sometimes. Anxiety, I guess, no idea. Usually a few drops of sweat will roll down my face when this happens, but not today. It was like someone was standing over me slowly pouring a bottle of water slowly over my head. It just kept going and going. Eventually the girl mentions, "Wow, you must be really hot." I'm already very nervous, and blurt out the first thing that pops into my head, "Yeah, it must be because you're pretty." I'm not sure why this is happening. You're pretty, but it's not like you're that pretty. So pretty much as soon as the last words are leaving my mouth I start asking myself, why in God's name would you say that? Now I'm even more embarrassed and I have to sit through a haircut feeling like an idiot, a drip-a-wet idiot. I spent the rest of the haircut praying for it to be done quickly or for a meteor to come through the ceiling and put me out of my misery. I pissed all over the floor of a toy store when I was a toddler. My poor dad was mortified, but the staff were very nice about it. This is a fond memory. Moved downtown to our university area. Got myself a sweet deal on a cheap, ghetto as fuck studio. The kind that get rented out to poor students next to the area homeless shelter. 2006, rent is only $300 a month, and I'm not in school. Too busy being punk rock and making just enough for a roof and partying. Total paradise. One week in, I go to a show, get completely shit-housed, and stumble back up the hill to either get more fucked up, or pass out at home. I decide to stop at the 7-Eleven directly across from my building. Yeah, no, snacks. I grab everything my impulses and lack of inhibition tells me to, and I'm about to pay for this garbage and be on my way. Set my things on the counter and politely introduce myself to the cashier, as she is ringing up my last couple things, without any kind of warning or rumbling beforehand. I am in excruciating pain, right in my gut. A split second flashes by, I clutch and clench my legs together. I gasped, "Bathroom?" to her. It was too late 5 seconds ago. I try to take a step and bam. My bowels unleash with not only an ungodly sound from my ass, but a simultaneous yelp as if I were a chihuahua that had just been stomped on. I swear I have never been so suddenly sober without a cop being involved. I have shorts on, I look down, and just liquid shit down the back of my leg, into my boots, and starting to puddle on the floor. I just ran. No change. No snacks. No words. I lived at that spot for almost 2 years. Never went back, and never even walked across their lot to get anywhere. I would walk the same way around that place to avoid it every day. In 1983 at age 17 I went into a pharmacy. I bought something and somehow I was given 50p too much change. I didn't say anything and left. To this day I've still not gone back. I have felt guilty ever since. Back when I was getting married I was sick as a dog and my soon-to-be bride insisted we go shopping for the wedding invites. Went into this pretty higher-end shop and really felt ill, and not just at the prices. Asked one of the workers if they had a restroom I could use. Long story short, took a massive smelly diarrhea dump, clogged the toilet and they had no plunger to fix it with. Even though I only flushed once the toilet kept running and it started to overflow. Rushed out, closed the door, grabbed my bride by the arm and just said, "We gotta go." I was in Walmart and had to readjust so I kindly just shoved my hands down the front of my pants. While the vet tech from the vet's office I took my dogs to walked by, making eye contact with me. Never saw him again after that. Not a store, but a public library. We're at the counter, and the librarian is scanning the books we've selected. She was generously sized. My little brother, 4 or 5 at the time, tugs my mom down to whisper something in her ear. He was rather new to the concept of whispering. He put his hand up to shield his lips from the librarian. Despite all this, he says, about the librarian, at standard speaking volume, "Hey mom, why ever notice how fat that lady is?" Mom tried to play it off by saying something akin to, "He thinks it's okay to say it to others cause he says it to me. But my mom's not fat." It did not work. We used to go there every day when my mom didn't want to have to hire a babysitter to watch us during the summer. She started looking for babysitters soon after. Not a store but a Mexican restaurant. I went to use the bathroom. It was one of those single occupancy rooms with a locking door. Well, the door wasn't locked and due to what I can only describe as the worst timing ever I saw none other than my waiter's dick. I was kinda shocked so I looked up and we made eye contact for a second. I just went back to my table and didn't say anything for the rest of the meal, even as my friends were asking what happened. I eventually told them and it's now one of my classic stories. But yeah, I can't ever go back. You know how in department stores when they have one of those display bathrooms they have that piece of plexiglass that goes across the toilet that says something along the lines of "not a real toilet. Don't be an idiot and pee in this." Those barriers didn't exist in the 80s when I was a young kid. Mom looked up and saw me with my panties off, holding my dress above my waist and sprinting for the toilet. She did not catch me in time. When I was 10 me and my mother were at Kmart doing school shopping. I was trying on clothes in the changing room, when all of a sudden I really had to fart. So I left the room and while walking I let it rip. What I didn't see there was employee bent down doing something and that fart hit her right in the face when I realized I ran out of the store. Too scared to go back for years. I got a gym membership for the first time recently. A lot of the machines are pretty self-explanatory, but I've never used a lot of them so I have no idea what I'm doing. So a few weeks ago I'm trying out the endless stare machine and in front of me is a guy on a machine working his arms, like making circular pedaling motions. I thought, I could do my arms too. So I take the machine next to his, set the timer for 10 minutes, just circling away. I finish my 10 minutes and look down by the seat to see handles. It was a leg machine. I sat there for 10 minutes in front of the entire gym, and everybody circling my arms like a lunatic. I mean, I'm still going back because I paid for it, but I'm not going to look anyone in the eye there ever again. A friend was getting married and asked me to make her wedding dress. We went to a fabric store to check out our options and get swatches. She asked to use the shop's bathroom. A few minutes later, she walked out quickly and whispered to me, "We need to get the fuck out here now." Turns out she had explosive diarrhea and absolutely destroyed the bathroom. Neither of us have been back. I was in a souvenir shop in London, England, with all these knickknacks and whatnot. I bumped a shelf that had a bunch of models of Big Ben, and like 6 or 7 of them fell off the shelf and broke. I offered to pay for them, but the employees blew it off. I guess minimum wage workers don't care enough about their actual company policy, thankfully. I was grateful, and now I will never return to that particular store. I was with a group of friends in a very quiet store. We were slowly leaving one by one through the double glass doors. One of it was closed and the other stayed opened. I somehow thought the closed door was opened and vice versa, so I walked smack into the middle of the closed glass door. My face was imprinted on it. I guess my face was very oily. My friends and the shopkeeper came rushing to see if I was okay. Then all marveled at my squashed face imprint. I left quickly. Every time I walk past that shop I make sure I am looking down or at the other side in case the staff recognize my face. The one night stand I ghosted 2 weeks before turned out to be my waitress on my date. Never went to shenanigans again. 7-Eleven down the street from me. Sold me spoiled milk multiple times, so I complained. She said it spoiled in the car ride home, 5 minutes way in the dead of winter. Fuck her. We got a nail cooked into out pizza. Not a fingernail, a construction nail. Out at a buddy's property in Indiana when I got a shit. No toilet anywhere on his land, so I head to the little area down the road. There is a disgusting gas station and a diner there. I go into the diner and the hostess tries to seat me at a table. I explain I just need to use the bathroom, but she tells me that's only for paying customers. I look at her on desperation and say, "Stack of pancakes then so I don't shit my pants." Took a dump and left out the back door. Guess I can't go back there as I'm probably known as the pancake pooper. The flow hack farter. Went to a pizza place to pick up an order. Was handed the food and said, "Thank you, sir." The response was, "My name's Tiffany." Had to send my wife in to get the food until Tiffany didn't work there anymore. My partner and I were out for dinner. Suddenly she looked at me and said she had to go to the bathroom. She jumped up and at that moment projectile vomited all over the table. Running to the bathroom, she carried on vomiting all over the floor. After about 10 minutes I get a text from my partner to come to the bathroom. I knocked on the door, was a single bathroom, and she opened it and politely informed me she had defecated herself from the force of throwing up. Oh my. After she done what she could to clean up the bathroom, we had to walk through a party of employees mopping her vomit up whilst my jacket around her waist. I paid the bill and swiftly left. We got in the car and never looked back. I quite liked that restaurant, and now we can never step foot in it again. A few years ago I got drunk for the first time in my life with a few of my friends. I ran into a Harvey's and told them I felt like an octopus, belly flopped on the ground and proceeded to swim on the floor in front of everyone in the restaurant. My friends promptly picked me up and carried me out onto the parking lot. A few minutes later, I managed to break free from them and ran back into the Harvey's, and screamed, "The octopus is back," and proceeded to swim on the floor again. Haven't been back since. My friend who started working there says they have a code octopus for whenever they need to remove drunks from the restaurant, so yeah. The owner of the cafe I like to go to recognized me in my order today. So I guess it's time to never go there again, ever.